Before I can attach the legs to the bottom of the workbench, I need to make the floor to the tool well. I am repurposing some 70-year-old high-quality quarter-inch plywood to be the floor. After cutting it on the table saw, I screwed it to the bottom of the center section. The washers allow the board to float when the bench top expands and contracts. The center hanger straddles the tool well, so wood in the middle of the hanger needs to be removed to clear the floor. I used a spiral bit and a guide fence to route out the material. The hanger is much wider than the depth of the bit, so after flipping the hanger around to route from both sides, I used a chisel to remove the remaining wood left in the middle. The hanger just barely clears the floor to the tool well and is not physically connected to it. I have the two legs in the hanger sitting on the bench right now, and I'd like to attach them so I can start working on the shelves. The legs are going to overhang the front by about 1/4 of an inch. And the legs are 5 inches thick, and this hanger is 3 inches thick. So it ends up being set back about 2 inches from the edge of the bench. But right here is going to be the same measurement on the legs and the hanger. So what I've done is, using the rail here, I measured back and made sure that this line right here, which is the same on both the legs and the hanger, is the same distance. In this case, it's a fairly arbitrary 5 3/8, and that is the same when I come over to the legs, because I can slide these legs where I need them to be. There it is, 5 3/8. Now I want those legs to stay there, so when I'm building the shelves, everything will end up nice and square. So it is time to make the marks to drill for the bolts, which are going to go into each one of these hangers and legs. Now, remember, I made slots for expansion, but the first bolt that I'm putting in, that one is really going to anchor to the front, and I don't really want that to be moving. The slots get wider the farther I go away. This is August now, and we're at peak humidity, so I'm pretty sure that the bench is as wide as it is going to get, which means that I'm going to be putting my bolts towards the front side of the hole, so that if the bench starts to shrink, it'll be able to move towards the end of the slot and not cause any problems. But I do want the front of the leg to stay in alignment with the front of the bench. So I'm just going to use one of the bolts that's actually going to be bolting this in. This first one is just a straight hole. It has no place to go. Just going to make a mark and then pull it out. Do the same thing on the other side. And then work my way down the line. Again, I'm going to put the bolt on the nearest side here. Pretty much the nearest side on each one of these. Now hopefully there's a clear mark as to where these go. Good, got nice clear marks. It's important that these holes are drilled nice and straight so that they will line up. I put tape over the shims to make sure that when I put the leg over it, it'll be able to slide down and won't get compressed or just fall under. These legs have gotten very, very heavy. I take my ruler, measure in 5 3/8. Now it's just a matter of bolting down. I'm not going to put all the bolts in now because of course I have to take this whole thing apart in order to turn it over and flatten out the top. So I'm just going to put in some bolts to keep it nice and level. I'll have to do it in pairs so there'll be even downward pressure on the legs. Okay, that's pretty darn level. I think I'm going to put one in each section. Of course, I have to do this in pairs to keep it straight. That is pretty near perfect. You can see that I have taped the wedges for the center hanger, and in this case there's 2 wedges in each hole, and that ensures that the hanger will be right in the dead center between the legs. You can also see the bottom of the tool well, which we made that cutout in the hanger so it won't get tied up with that.
Attaching the middle hanger is the same as what we just did with the first leg, just adding the bolts and making sure there's even tension on them so that the leg is square. Here I'm tapping the holes, then I'm going to go ahead and drill those holes. I have a fair amount of cleanup to do, a little sanding, and now I'm ready to go ahead and put the leg on top of these wedges. Add the bolts, and we're done. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.